Hey guys, it's Drake again with the RPG Construct, doing another episode of the Call of Cthulhu 7th Edition How-To series. In this one, we're going to be talking about wounds and healing. Okay, there's a kind of a lot to go through. I am not going to touch on the optional rules; those just throw a wrench into everything. So I'm just going to go through the Keeper's Guide and just kind of explain it all. So first thing, tracking damage. You have three different kinds of damage. Okay, you have regular damage, okay, damage that causes a major wound, and damages that just outright kill you. But what's the difference, right? Regular damage is anything that is less than half of your hit points. So if you have 10 hit points, you get hit with 4 or below, it's regular damage, right? Groovy. A major wound is any hit point, any damage that takes more than half of your hit points but doesn't take you down to 0. Okay, that's a major wound, and there's effects to that. Basically, you just got stomped. You just got hit hard. Okay, and finally, if you have 10 hit points and somebody hits you for 12, you're dead. There's do not pass go, do not collect $200. You are dead. Your character is dead. You cannot be saved. You're done. In this game, it is very easy to be killed very quickly. But at the same time, other creatures are very easy to kill as well. It makes sense that a solid hit with a revolver would kill you. Whereas other games you have, 100 hit points and things like that. You're not having more than 15 on this or so, depending on your character. But I rolled up a character the other day that had 8. You know how many creatures can hit you for 8 damage? Just about all of them. So just keep that in mind. So regular damage is less than half. Major wound is more than half. Dead is basically all of your hit points are gone. So when you receive regular damage, okay, there's no negative effects to you. Okay, if you are brought down to 0 hit points through regular damage, then you just fall unconscious. But you cannot die. Your character cannot die from regular damage. He will recover. Okay, so keep that in mind. You just fall unconscious with enough time, you can recover from regular damage. If you have a major wound, on the character sheet, there's going to have a little box there. It says major wound. You're going to check that box. If you receive a major wound, you are going to fall prone. That's a sure thing. If you get hit that hard, you're going to fall down. Okay? You have to make a constitution roll to avoid being knocked unconscious. So if you fail that roll, you're out. You're knocked out. Okay? And finally, if you fall to 0 hit points with your major wound box checked, you go into a status called dying. Okay? And dying is a little bit different for this one. Dying, again, there's a box on your sheet to remind you. You just check that. If you are dying, you fall unconscious and you make a constitution roll at the end of every round. If you fail a constitution roll, you die. Okay? You just die. It's that simple. Now, there's 2 things here. You can first aid and medicine. If someone is dying, you have to administer first aid to stabilize them. You make a first aid roll. Okay? And if you succeed, all right, then that person is stabilized with 1 hit point. Okay? After that, you can use your medicine skill and really, get them some more hit points back. Although it's not as fast as you think. There's no really fast healing in Call of Cthulhu. But you cannot stabilize a dying person with medicine. It has to be with first aid. Okay? But once you are stabilized, then you go to medicine, get your hit points back in time, stuff like that. First aid, has to be administered within 1 hour of the wound. Okay? So if you're dying and they're trying to administer, it has to be within 1 hour. If you fail this roll can be pushed. But again, when you push a roll, there's consequences if you fail it. Okay? 2 people can also attempt this first aid, and if one of them wins, they can both do 2 rolls. If one of them succeeds, then that person is basically stabilized. Okay? So now, with medicine, once this again takes a minimum of 1 hour to administer medicine. And I just have some notes here that I'm going through. Anytime after taking damage, you can administer medicine. If it's not the same day, it increases the difficulty rating. So if it's the next day, you have to do a hard success in order to be successful. Okay? And when you succeed on a medicine check, you heal for 1d3 hit points. Basically, roll a d6 and half it, because none of us have 3-sided dice. So that's first aid in medicine. When it comes to recovering regular damage, okay, recovering from regular damage, you get 1 hit point per day. Pretty simple. Every day you get 1 back unless you get some medicine to heal you. You can sit around for 7 days and get 7 back. Okay, there's no rolls or anything. It's just there. Major wound recovery. So when you have a major wound, you make a constitution roll at the end of each week. Okay? If you fail it, you don't heal any hit points back. If you succeed, you get 1d3 hit points back. If you have an extreme success that week, you get 2d3 hit points back. Okay? Also, a few other things. You can give an investigator a bonus die if they're in a very comfortable place where they can rest, like home or a hospital, where it's all rest and it's sanitary and it's good. That can be, you can give them a bonus die because they're in good hands. Also, if they're in a place where there's a lot of medical people, like a hospital or in the care of a good doctor, you can add a bonus die to that as well. Conversely, if the investigator is trying to heal in a poor environment, if they're locked up in a cell, and it's not sanitary, they're not getting sufficient rest, you can add a penalty die to that. And if they fumble, especially if like somebody who's trying to administer a medical help to the investigator fumbles on a roll, that is, rolls really bad, then you can add a penalty die to that person's con save or con roll. Okay, hope that makes sense. So when it comes to healing a major wound, there's only 2 ways that you can heal a major wound. Okay, the first one, you roll an extreme success on your con roll. Okay, that once a week thing, you get an extreme success, 1/5 of your skill, and you're healed. That major wound is not going to affect you anymore. The other thing is, over time, if you recover up to half of your hit points, so if you have 10, if you recover enough hit points to get you to 5, that major wound is no longer there. That way you can uncheck that box. Okay, you're going to be doing a lot of box checking and unchecking, so when you're doing your character sheets, while you're playing, use pencil, because you're going to be doing a lot of erasing, especially if you do multiple sessions. Let's see here. The other thing is, guys, just because your character dies doesn't necessarily mean that you have to die immediately. This is a horror game. It may be more horrifying for your character that is going to die. You failed that roll, you know he's going to die. But maybe the keeper keeps you alive and just kind of incapacitated or paralyzed. You can see everything, you can hear everything, you can feel everything, but you're not dead yet. But you will be. So maybe you keep them around for a more dramatic scene. If they just roll terrible and they're done, use it to your advantage. Make it part of the story. The other types of damage, on page 124 in the Keeper's Guide, there is other forms of damage. That's minor, moderate, severe, deadly, terminal. And then there's one called splat. So if you get into a head-on collision at 40 miles an hour, you're a splat. You're dead, right? If you get hit by a speeding car, it's 4d10 damage. 38 caliber bullet, falling, a huge amount of space, like 10, 20 feet, onto concrete or something like that is 1d10. There's a whole bunch of different other types of damage that are not from melee or firearms, but just keep them in mind if you do want to look at it. It's on page 124 in the Keeper's Guide. There is a ton of pages on optional rules, guys. I'm not going to go into those right now. But I think we've gone through the basics of wounds and healing. and I hope this makes sense now. Like I said, it's a very easy game to die in. But I think it forces you to be more careful. You can't just rush in like you do in a lot of other RPGs. It really forces you to play it like it's actually here and now, and you're actually human. You know, you can't take 17 hits and live. You know, you take one shot, chances are you're going to be dead. So anyway, guys, I hope that explained wounds and healing. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I think next we might be talking about sanity. That's my favorite part of Call of Cthulhu, your sanity stat. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.